Brothers and sisters, thanks for joining today. I came across another interesting story in the Daily Mail this time. I'll try to put the link in the YouTube if I remember, but you can see it at the top here. And it's all about all new UK cars could have breathalyzers and black box style recorders under Labour plans to align with the EU. People in the UK for some time now, the governments have just been taking away everyone's rights. And I just see this as just they're having another go at it. And I'm pretty sure I know what this is about, but just to preface this one, how I think about this. I remember, when I was a young child, we had to wear seatbelts, right? And we only had to wear them on base because I grew up in a military family, and most of the time that I was driving around, I'd be on base at some point during the day. So you had to wear seatbelts on military bases before it was a thing in the rest of the country. And they did the same thing. Car companies started putting seatbelts in, and then later the laws came in. That one I think was actually a good idea. And my thought on that is seatbelts do definitely save lives. Don't get me wrong. And if you're the driver in a car, you do have the responsibility for the safety of everyone in that car. So it's not just you. Your actions have an impact on other people in the car. It makes the cars so much safer that who could be against that? Definitely I go along with that. But then they did a little more, and I just really hate the nanny state. And I still remember back to, fast forward a little bit, but around the time I was in high school, they started making these other laws, like you had to wear a helmet. Well, I still don't like that one. I do have a motorbike license. I don't have a bike, but I've got a license. I would never ride a bike without a helmet. But that's my choice. If you don't want to wear a helmet and you fall off and hurt yourself, that's on you. Why do I care? And so I am okay with putting specific restrictions on children, but I think parents should do most of that. And then smoking, similarly. My mom smoked like a chimney. I don't know how much secondhand smoke I got as a child, but it was a lot. Let me tell you, I think she used to smoke like 2 packs a day, every day. So she was a heavy duty smoker. And then in the 80s in America, they started banning smoking in restaurants and bars. And I was just like, why are they doing this? People always smoke in restaurants and bars. It's just what you do. So I'm still actually against that. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a smoker, never have been a smoker, don't really like it, don't really like the smell of it around, none of that. But I don't see why we should be telling other people they can't smoke. Again, except for children. But that's also a fool's errand. Kids are going to get cigarettes if they want them. I remember getting sent to the shops to get cigarettes for mom. And, the problem with cigarettes is like a business owner who wants to allow smoking in their bar or in their restaurant should be allowed to. And you as a customer, if you don't like it, don't go eat there. No problem. Go find another restaurant. I see no problem with that. And if enough customers won't eat at that restaurant or drink in that bar, then the owner will change his rules. I got no problem with that. And I personally, if I had a choice where there were bars that were smoking and non-smoking, and I wanted to go to the bar, I'd go to the non-smoking bar, 100%. But that should be my choice. That should be the owner's choice. I don't like when the government does it. So I see this as that same thing. And it looks like the EU has gone crazy with the nanny state lately. And now it's encroaching in on the UK, which is crazy because I thought we had Brexit. So why is the UK going along with everything the EU wants to do? Anyway, so that's me off my rant. Let's read this and see what this is all about. But I'm pretty sure I know what it's all about. Okay, so Daily Mail. All new UK cars could have breathalyzers and black box style recorders under Labour plans with the EU. So box style recorders. Again, it's troublesome. And I know it's a slippery slope because like I own a Tesla, full disclosure, and it already sends all my data to Tesla. I know it does. But do I want the government mandating it and getting that data and being in on that? And I don't know. We'll see. So the government making people put it in all cars sounds bad. Now, again, this is the EU and the UK. This isn't the US yet. All right. So this is a new story, 31 July 2025. All right, so new cars sold in Britain could follow European laws and be fitted with a black style recorders and new equipment that enables breathalyzer installations. Amid claims the move is a political ploy by Labour to reset its post-Brexit relationship with the EU. All right, so Labour is trying to make nice with the EU. That's why they want to put this in. And this isn't just a Labour thing. Once it goes in, it's in, right? It's like car companies aren't gonna change that. When a new government comes in, they're not just suddenly gonna change all the rules and change this. And any government will be fine with this, I'm sure. Sir Keir Starmer's government argues that differences in car manufacturing between Britain and Europe will lead to higher costs being passed on to the customer. Well, it's going to cost more to put that box in the first place. And that's just something else to break in your car and make your car more unreliable. Great. So we're going to put another thing in your car that can break. It's good for the mechanics. But critics argue such a move could show a desire by Labour to closely align Britain to rules and regulations implemented by Brussels. Yeah, and that's what I would be kind of nervous about, because the EU is just overboard on the nanny state, and Britain's already bad. And to be fair, the US is bad too. It's just there's a spectrum of badness, with EU being on one end and the US on the other, and the UK is somewhere in the middle. Labour previously agreed the UK would align with EU plant and animal health rules as part of concessions to form closer relationship with the bloc. Okay. I'd get that more, actually, because if you want to sell your produce into the EU, you're going to have to align with their rules. So it's probably easier just to align with their rules. But really, who's buying UK cars? Really, come on, guys. It's like the UK car industry is a mess. Go ask Jaguar. And I know most people don't buy Jaguars, but EU sells way more cars, I'm thinking, and the Japanese and the Koreans sell way more cars. So I don't really think that the UK is making a lot of cars anyway. But still, the problem is all new cars sold in the UK, not not manufactured, I think, right? All new cars sold. Yeah. So see, and so that's also trouble for America, because that means if American companies want to sell into the EU, which Trump is very much on selling our products in the EU and Europe and in the UK, that's what his tariff thing is all about. That means U.S. cars need to start putting these things in, and then if they're putting them in U.S. cars for Europe, are they going to put them in U.S. cars for the U.S.? Interesting. Now I know they do build like two different SKUs of cars in general, depending on where you're going to sell them. Because Americans drive on the right and British drive on the left, and so because of that, and a few other countries that were part of the British Empire still drive on the left. So because of that, there are already two different SKUs of cars. But to make it simpler, the car manufacturers will just put this in all their cars. And I don't know if I want this in my car. Let's keep reading and we'll see if I do. Now, Lord Hendy, Minister of State for the Department of Transport, stated earlier this week in Parliament that the government takes an explicit presumption in favor of the alignment in regards to how cars are manufactured. Okay. Yeah, and I get it. If I was him, I'd want this too. If I was in his job, I would want to make it easier and have us align with the Europeans. Because again, we're probably selling more stuff to Europe, and Europe's probably selling more stuff to us than America is right now. Again, Trump's trying to change that, but right now that is true. So if I'm him, I'd probably want to do that. And then there's other reasons. Let's get on to the other reasons. He added that the government would be considering options for requiring the fitment of the safety technologies mandated by EU's general safety regulation, and would discuss these with individual manufacturers, the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, and the National Franchise Dealer Association. So hopefully they'll talk about these safety technologies lower down. Is this just this black box, or is it something else? Is it like seatbelts? Is there something physically, that makes the car safer that they're requiring, like, stronger bumpers or something. We'll see. Let's go read it. I'm not going to read under the captions in the pictures. The Daily Mail understands that the Department of Transport is exploring options for updates to require fitment to set up by the EU's general safety. That's just that they just did that paragraph twice. When Britain was a member of the EU, new British and European cars followed the same legislation. But following Brexit, Brussels introduced the General Safety Regulation 2, which called for different devices and technology to be pre-installed. Yeah, see, it's a little bit problematic, because EU is a different country, so or different, state entity. So the UK should be able to have their own rules. But again, I get it. If you want to sell into Europe, then you need to have this. And yeah, if you have more stuff in it than you need on cars that are sold into UK, I guess it's not so bad. But again, it drives costs up for British. This is just going to drive costs up no matter what. Like if they've got to make cars and put this new thing in it, that thing costs money. They're just going to pass that along to the consumer in the form of a higher car price. You're not going to get a cheaper car with this thing in it. I guarantee it. These include breathalysers, which prevent a car's engine from starting if the driver fails an alcohol test. So I guess you're going to get rid of those electronic keys that everybody's got now, and we're all going to have to blow into a little tube to start our cars. I've seen people that have had to do that who are, done for driving under the influence. But I don't really want to have to do that. What happens if it breaks so I can't start my car? I still like the good old-fashioned key. I would 100% rather have an actual physical key to start my car than these little electronic keys we all have now. And again, that's me, and I've got a Tesla, and I still would rather have a key when I'm getting into a car to start it. But again, full disclosure, I don't actually have to start my car. I just stick it in drive. So the wife's always like, "Hey, did you turn your car off when I'm in another car?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I forgot to turn the car off because I don't have to turn mine on and off." But that's a whole different thing. So breathalyzers. I don't really want a breathalyzer in my car unless I'm a criminal or unless I have a history of drink driving, and they're going to give me my license back on this precondition. I don't want to be assumed that I've been drinking. I don't like that. Yeah, it probably would make things safer, but I don't like it. Under the regulation, all new models must have equipment in place to facilitate breathalyzer installation. These are likely to only be fitted on court orders to vehicles used by motorists with a history of driving. Whoever wrote this article, they didn't edit it very well. So this should be drink driving or drunk driving, something like that. Yeah, so this is the slippery slope, right? They put seatbelts in the cars years ago, manufacturers, and there was no law on the books about it. And then they made a law. I think it went something like that. It's possible that they demanded it and the car companies just put it in early before the law took effect. I don't know the exact details. I don't like this because today the car would have the capability of having the breathalyzer very easily. Tomorrow they just change the law and say everyone has to have a breathalyzer. And now we're used to it. Now we are used to some of that. Like there's that ODB. Is it ODB? There's a connector in all cars in America, probably all over the world now. Because I know I used to have a BMW and it had the same kind of connector. And so there's a standard connector so you can check your emissions and check the health of your car and all that. And I'm all for that because it's just a thing to check your car. But putting the equipment in so it's easier to put other stuff in there is a problem. And then didn't it say something about a black box at the top? What's in that black box? Let's go on. And yeah, they said today it's only on a court order, but what about tomorrow? Event data recorders, which can provide information on how fast the car was traveling before an accident and driver drowsiness, which can alert a driver if they're becoming sleepy. They're also required to fit in new vehicles. But yeah, so that all sounds good. Like, yeah, I don't want to be falling asleep, and you know what, I don't know about how fast, but I don't know about you guys, but I live in Texas. Nobody drives the speed limit in Texas. Everybody goes at least 5 miles an hour over, at least. Okay, and nobody gets a ticket for going 5 miles over. I don't think you really get tickets till you hit 10, unless you get into a speed trap. But I don't want the government knowing how fast I'm going all the time. And I don't want, because on paper it sounds good, but then what happens when the insurance companies get this data and jack up your rates because they don't like something you were doing when you were driving? Um, and and it can detect driver drowsiness. So now I can see whatever I'm doing in my car. Do I want that? Do I want a camera in my car that can see whatever I'm doing? Who's got this footage? Where's it at? Um, they're probably training their AIs on it, by the way. They should be paying us, but that's a whole different topic. So I don't think I want this. Northern Ireland follows the GSR2 rules as part of Brexit deal to prevent a hard border with the Republic of Ireland. Yeah, that's still problematic. Northern Ireland and Ireland really should be separate countries. It's crazy. Just do a hard border. Let's get it over with. You know what? That might get the Northern Ireland folks to want to do a referendum and join the rest of Ireland, like they should. I know the 6 counties. All are heavily Protestant and want to stay with the UK, or did. But if you put in stupid stuff like a hard border, maybe people will change their mind, because you shouldn't have a hard border between all of Ireland. But again, you got a problem. You got 2 countries on the same little island that are both called Ireland. Crazy. And I'm allowed to talk bad about Ireland if I want. I'm an Irish citizen too, believe it or not. But differences between new cars made under EU and UK rules could mean customers in Northern Ireland would face higher costs for purchasing a new vehicle from the mainland. Guys, it's going to be a higher cost no matter what, because they're going to put this box in your car. And so so just putting the box in your car drives the prices up. They're like pretending like this new box is not going to cost anything. This new wiring, this new box, it always costs more. Labour is understood to back in alignment with the EU on safety laws to stop Irish consumers being treated unfavorable. Yeah, it's all about the consumers. No, it isn't. Car manufacturers are also said to see the advantage in aligning the rules. I think car manufacturers, it's tough for them. They will. More stuff they put in cars means they can buy more stuff, and that can drive up their revenues, and it makes the governments happy. So they like that kind of stuff. But then these things break, and it can be, some of these things are an engineering nightmare. Do they really want them? I don't know. I don't know if they really do. Mike Hawes, chief executive of the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, so with the heavily integrated nature of UK and European automotive sectors, regulatory alignment supports efficient production, keeping costs down, while retaining the widest possible model choice. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, if people want to buy BMWs, they're going to have to accept these cars, and then again, if these manufacturers want to sell into EU market, they're going to have to put these things in. So they might as well just put them in for everybody. So this is one where I actually don't think it actually needs to be mandated. Car manufacturers, I think, will put them in. I think it's just cheaper and easier for them to put them in than to have 2 different SKUs. All right, so here are the safety tech things. All right, let's see if these things are really about safety. Because I'm skeptical about all this stuff. Governments love to put stuff in there to take away your rights under the guise of safety, and like, oh, it's for the children, but then that's not really what it's for. Like, go back and look at the Online Safety Act and look at how many adults have been investigated based on that act. But I thought it was all for the kids. No, it's never all for safety and kids. These guys all have ulterior motives. So intelligent speed assist recognizes traffic signs, provides an overspeed warning, warns drivers. Okay, I'm okay with that. A warning is fine as long as it's not a governor that makes me go slower. Okay. Autonomous emergency braking, a collision avoidance feature that scans the forward path and helps you brake. I like that, but what if the police were chasing you? The police could just turn your car off, right? Do you really like that? Okay. All right. Yeah. That's only the police. You shouldn't be driving so fast. The police are chasing you anyway. You're probably a criminal. What happens when hackers learn how to hack this? And now hackers can start and stop your car. If they can do this emergency brake, they can stop your car from moving. What happens when that happens? Is that good? Do you want hackers to be able to stop your car? Okay, driver drowsiness and attention warning, occupant monitoring feature using the driver's facing camera for direct monitoring. It detects a driver looking away from the road and it triggers warning. I don't like that because now they got a camera that can see everything I'm doing in my car. You know what? I don't want people seeing what I'm doing in my car. I don't know. They'll probably say there's no expectation of privacy in your car because you're driving around, but I'm not sure about that. In the U.S., in Texas, the castle is an extension of your house under the castle doctrine, I believe. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe you have some of the same rights in your car that you have in your house because your house is your car. Or your car, and well, sometimes for some people, your house is your car if you have an RV or you're living in your car. I know it's got big glass windows, but still. So I'm not sure I like a camera in my car. Who's watching that video? What are they watching that video for? What about my kids? Are there pedos out there getting hold of this video, like checking out which kids to go snatch? I'm not sure I like that. I don't want a camera looking at me in my car. This is not enough to detect me being drowsy or inattention. That's not enough. I don't like that one. Emergency lane keeping system, a collision avoidance feature using forward-facing cameras to prevent leaving the lane of travel. Again, yeah, I think that's good, but what happens when a hacker takes over your car? If it can avoid lanes, then that means it has some control over the steering, and they could crash your car, or they could make your car come to a stop over on the side of the road and then rob you. I'm not sure I like mandating this has to be in cars. And again, all this stuff just adds cost and complexity to the car. Alcohol interlock installation facilitation. See, you see, it's a boil the frog thing, right? It's like they can't get the whole like breathalyzer ignition in right now. People are against that. But you know what? If we just put the circuitry in there to get the bad people, that'd be okay, right? And then we'll just use quarters. But then, like, the next law will require that to be the new starter. So I guarantee that I predict now in like 10 years there will be some government entities requiring cars to be started by breathalyzer. That's just their beginning of taking everyone's cars away, right? Because if they're all like this, then when Elon Musk makes all the self-driving Teslas and they try to take our cars away, this is all going to facilitate that and make it so we can't drive. But so I might start just buying old cars now if they start doing too much of this stuff. And I know my Tesla can already do all this stuff, but my wife's got a BMW that doesn't do this stuff yet. So I have an alternate vehicle. Event data recorder, a black box in all cars that records and stores vehicle data shortly before, during, and immediately after a road traffic collision. So, and again, the kind of libertarian in me, what else can that thing do? Like, remember, when the FBI was trying to catch the mob, they went to all this trouble to put bugs in cars and GPS trackers in cars and all this kind of stuff. Maybe it wasn't GPS, maybe it was radio signals, because it was back in, like, I think they were doing all this in the 70s and the 80s. But what else is that thing recording? And so now the government could always know where your car is, always. So they can always find you if they want to. And again, you might say, oh, that's just the police, and if they're using that, it's because you're a criminal. No. What happens when it's government overreach and you've just put some naughty posts on Facebook and they want to come talk to you about it, and they turn your car off and then come arrest you in your car? Because it's easier to get you there than it is in your house, because you don't have as many rights in your house. Or that's how it is in the U.S. If you're outside of your house, you have far fewer rights than you're in your house. So, and this event data recorder, also what happens when the insurance companies get a hold of the data that's in this thing. And again, it's like, oh, you've been a naughty boy. You ran a stop sign. Or, oh, you made that turn too fast. Or, I don't think I like this. Electronic stability program helps prevent the loss of control for cornering if it veers off the intended path. Yeah, I'm okay with that. A stability control seems all right in general. Emergency stop signal. So so the lights have to flash when you do an emergency stop. I'm all right with that. Reverse detection systems alerts driver when the presence of people or objects at the rear. Yeah, I like that to stop collision. So I like the warning things where it's just warning you or helping you. I just don't like it when this data is collected for somebody else potentially, because cars are all like mine is always connected to the internet. That's coming for everyone. I don't know if all manufacturers do that yet, but it's coming. So manufacturers are gonna be able to get all your driving data. It's coming. So I don't know if I want them to have all this. Tire pressure monitoring. Yeah, I like that. Cybersecurity. This one's a joke. Addresses the increase in connected vehicles on European roads require robust cybersecurity to prevent them from being stolen. Hackers will always find a way. Car thieves will always find a way. So the more connected, the more bells and whistles you have in your car, the easier it is for somebody to steal your car or do something nefarious with it. Just go ask the users of the T app how cybersecurity has been working for them lately. Control includes level 3 autonomous features, which will pave the way for automated vehicles adopted in the EU. So that's actually the end game right there. And you will see, we will see in our lifetime, there will be a push that people aren't allowed to drive anymore, and cars will all drive themselves, and all of this is leading up to that. I'm guaranteeing it. So, do you want to drive or not? And if you don't want to drive, great, and I don't mind. But if they take away our cars and won't let us drive, that's a different thing. I like driving. But supporters of Brexit argue the UK manufacturers do not need to be led by Brussels. Uh, uh, the move is simply an attempt by Labour to woo the EU. Yeah, I agree. Car manufacturers, if they want to sell cars in the EU and they need to put this thing in, they'll put it in. The UK does not need to mandate it. So why are we mandating it? So former Tory leader Duncan Smith. This is a game being played out where they keep incrementally moving back towards the European Union. Yeah, it really does seem that way. Labour did not like Brexit, and the parties that didn't like Brexit are working on basically rejoining Europe. And full disclosure, all of my relatives voted to stay with the EU, but as Barack Obama said, votes have consequences. And this was a once in a lifetime vote. UK decided to stay its own thing and break away from the EU. You can't go back. You shouldn't be going back. Not in at least the next 20, 30 years anyway. Marc Francois, chairman of the Conservative European Research Group, added, "This is still rule taking from the EU. However, you try and dress it up." Yeah. Away from the theater of politics, inbuilt breathalysers for alcoholics, as they are also known, are actually backed by the majority of motorists as a solution to stopping drink drivers from reoffending. I'm completely okay with having one of those installed if you're convicted of drink driving. Completely okay. Now, it's a little more costly for you to get it installed because the circuitry doesn't exist, but they can put this in all new cars today. So why should we put it in ahead of time just in case I'm going to be a drunk driver? No, I don't like it. Like, if I'm a drunk driver, make me pay to have it put in my car if I want to drive, and then let me drive with that thing if that's the court wants to do. Let's not make everyone into potential criminals. I don't like that. A recent poll by the RAC, whoever that is, found 53% of drivers want courts to have the power to order anyone convicted of drink driving to have breathalyzers installed. Yeah, so I'm actually okay with that. But see, this is a slippery slope. Whoever wrote this article, what they're trying to do is equate that, oh no, people are okay with these things with the circuitry being put in. Look at the polls. No, the polls were to have it put, or were we okay having it put in alcoholics' cars, the alco lock. I'm okay with that. Put it in offenders' cars. Don't put it in everyone's. So I might be here in the I am probably in the 53% of courts should be able to order it. But that if you're out on the public roads, for the and you're a known danger to others, then I'm okay with it. Because you're a danger to others, not just yourself. I don't care if you're a danger to yourself, but in a car you are a danger to others. But people who haven't done it, no, let's not criminalize regular folk. Um, Support for the interventions process comes from the Freedom of Information Act from the DVLA. 27,000 individuals were convicted of multiple drink driving offenses in the 11 years. So because 27,000 bad actors in 11 years were convicted of multiple drink driving offenses, then the 65, 70 odd million people in the UK all have to have this thing. No, make the 27,000 go out there and buy them. This is good for if you've got a company that sells this circuitry. This is how Nancy Pelosi and the other politicians, both Republicans and Democrats, got rich. I bet they're buying stock in companies right now that make this thing. And no, I don't like it. On the back of this evidence, they're pushing the government to take up this method in a bid to reduce drink driving. It's not going to reduce drink driving, guys. Putting the circuitry in will not reduce it. Drink drivers are going to do it no matter what. Now, if they actually had the breathalysers in everybody's car, that would reduce drink driving because you couldn't start your car. But they aren't actually even talking about that. So they love to like mix things together. Too many lost lives are lost. Okay. All right. So I think that's pretty much it. But again, you guys heard me. I'm not for it. I think that the EU is turning into the biggest nanny state we've ever seen. And I don't want it to come to the UK any more than it has. I want to roll it back. And I want to roll it back in the US. Once you guys do this in the UK, then and in the EU, American car companies are going to follow suit. And I don't like it. And then just back to this other thing. This article didn't really talk about it, but see this black box thing? Here's the other use for the black box. And again, it's a slippery slope. Oops, didn't mean to click that. In Texas, and I'm sure in a lot of other places, there's a lot of tax on petrol and gasoline, right? And one of the things that money is used for is to maintain roads, right? And I'm sure in Scotland and England, that's a big thing, and it is here too. And hey, how's your council doing at filling your potholes? And normally they're not very good at it for all the money we give them in petrol tax. Well, I own a Tesla. And it's kind of funny because the government's been pushing everyone around the world to turn to get these electric vehicles, right? And if you didn't know, if you're living under a rock, Teslas are all electrics. Well, I don't buy any gasoline for my Tesla or any petrol. It's electric. So I'm just paying for the electricity, which is cheaper and cleaner than the petrol. And the government wants me to do that because it's cheaper and cleaner. You buy the electric, but then they realize, oh, I'm not paying my gas tax. Oh, we're losing tax revenues. So we got to figure out a new way to tax people. So what did they do? Now in Texas, they just put a tax whenever I go to register my car every year. It's $200 in Texas to register your car on top of the normal fee. I think it's like $75 a year, something like that. So it's about $270-ish to register my car every year. My wife's is about 70 because she's got gasoline. And I did the math. I wouldn't pay $200 in gas tax in my Tesla if I actually drove it, my normal mileage. So it's just so they're always going to find a way to tax you. So what else can they do with this black box? I guarantee this black box is going to have, they didn't mention anywhere in this article, I guarantee it will have circuitry where it's going to track your mileage. Then the government's going to be able to tax your mileage, right? And say, oh, we're going to do that because we need to pay for the roads. And so we're going to do that to accurately, so we're only going to charge you for what you use. That's what they're going to say, right? But nobody actually wants electric cars. Really, I think pretty much everyone who wants them has them, and so the market is really not growing. And so my other prediction is we're all going to have these taxes for miles we drive, and we're still going to have the petrol tax, and almost everyone's still going to have a petrol car. So you're going to get taxed twice for the roads. You're going to get taxed on mileage and you're going to get charged on the petrol because they're not going to roll back the petrol tax when they come out with this one. It's not like they're going to go, oh, you know what? Now we're going to have perfect data and we can tax everyone for road and for their mileage and do road upkeep. So you know what? We don't need the petrol tax anymore. That's not going to happen. We're going to end up paying both. So, and I'm not for any new taxes. I already pay plenty of tax. I don't want to pay anymore. So for a lot of reasons, I'm against this, and I just wanted to get the word out. This turned out to be long. I was on my rants, but now you see why I'm a little nervous about this. And I think this is coming to America in a few. If it's not here yet, it's coming in a few years. This to standardize this thing, and under the guise of safety, oh, it's going to stop DUIs. It's going to take away our freedoms. And it is going to increase the ability of the surveillance state to get their data on you. Now, don't get me wrong. They can already get your data. The government already can. It's just a little harder. There's just another tool to make it easier. So let's not let Big Brother take over, guys. Let's fight against this. Vote in politicians who are against this sort of nonsense. All right, that's all I got. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. You know what to do if you liked it. If you didn't like it, don't watch it. Like South Park says, it probably shouldn't be watched by anybody. Thanks. Bye, guys.